You've just tuned in to the nexus of inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting leaders who share their successes and their failures. Insights that will motivate, cultivate, educate, and illuminate your path to a very bright future. Welcome to Shaping the Future podcast. Here's your host, Greg Kell.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Shaping the Future podcast. This is Greg Kell, your host. And today I will introduce you to Gil Dickason, the CEO of H&A Transmissions in Rancho, Cucamonga, California. Gil, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Where do I start? I guess the best way for me to begin is to say that I grew up here in California my entire life. Always had aspirations to kind of step out and carve my own way, and of course being a young adult, not really knowing a direction that I really wanted outside of sports. My goal and dream was to play for the Dodgers, but of course that didn't happen. So anyway, married, 3 children, graduate from California High School in Whittier. As I said, growing up my entire life here in California, and now the CEO of a company called H&A Transmissions, who has a subsidiary also known as Gear Speed, which is part of the performance and racing and parts side of transmissions. So it's been a long road. There's a lot of twists and turns in it, but here I sit today.
Welcome, Gil.
Thank you.
This is an excellent facility that you have here. It looks like a combination of administration and manufacturing. Is that true?
That would be correct. We have 2 companies all rolled into the same building. We do manufacturing remanufacturing, I should say, of transmissions for the Honda and Acura automobiles, both manual and automatic. We also do some racing and performance work, and also have a bigger umbrella with the Gear Speed side of things being the parts end of the industry, and we have some very creative projects that we're working with there.
Excellent. And when did you establish H&A Transmissions?
Actually, I'm not the founder. The founder was actually my cousin, and his name is Gilbert Roland Dickason. I'm Gilbert Hamlin Dickason. Long story short is he started this company back in 1990, I believe it was 1990 or 91. I think it was 90. But he'd been working on Honda and Acura transmissions and cars and stuff his whole life since basically when we got out of high school. My first car was a Honda. I wasn't a mechanic, I was an athlete. So every time my car would break, I'd take it to him and he'd fix it. So long story short is he opened up one of the very first auto repair facilities for strictly Hondas and Acuras. Back then it wasn't Acura, it was just Honda. In the United States. He was one of the first to do so in 1975, I believe it was. So specializing in those cars from 75 to 1990, he finally found that it was far more lucrative and less headaches with dealing with the average day in, day out customer to go into the wholesale side of things, dealing with transmissions. And the way that all came about is ultimately he came to me, and like I said, we're cousins, asked me if I'd be willing to help him finance a new endeavor. So I loaned him some money, and I joked with him, told him when he was too busy to give me a call, I'd come work for him. At that particular point in time, I was in the lithography industry, which is the commercial printing, and it was a very lucrative career. So nonetheless, my joke turned into a reality. Probably 2.5, 3 months later, he called me up and said, "Hey, were you serious?" I said, "No. But what do you got?" Because I was kind of getting disenchanted with working my way up and down the corporate ladder within the printing industry, only to have economic hardship take place in the United States, and then that forces layoffs. People start looking to lay people with high price tags off and hire those people that they've trained below to do that job. I think many of your listeners understand that principle. So nonetheless, I decided to take a gamble and do the one thing that I swore I'd never do, which was work on cars.
Excellent. It's an excellent story. Thank you for sharing, Gil.
You're welcome.
We, in the Future Shapers audience, are passionate about entrepreneurship and innovation. together, working together to produce improved productivity, profits, and business growth. That is a fundamental belief that we have. Tell me, Gil, what are you most passionate about today?
Most passionate about today is probably the growth side of things. We've established ourselves as being, the perennial champion, if you will, for the premier company that does what we do. There's nobody that does it better, and that's not by my statements. That's by all the accolades that people within the industry would tell you. So, long story short, it's for me at this point. I'm now at 63 years of age, and I'm looking to migrate more towards a life towards retirement. I do have a young daughter that's a competitive ice skater that's hoping to be in the Olympics, so I'd like to be participant and involved in that process a lot more. So right now for me, the most passionate thing is putting together a infrastructure and a leadership team here that has the ability to be able to carry this company forward to the next phase in growth without my input and direct oversight, or my partner, who, as I said, the founding father of the company, which is Roland. He's already retired. I'm next in line.
That could be a challenge sometimes, letting the next generation follow you, because it may be really big shoes to fill, maybe not as big shoes as we hope that they are. But if you have good people, that can help.
Oh, that's a huge statement, Greg. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I remember as a young buck seeing on TV, it was a comedy bit of all things with Buddy Hackett, actually. And Buddy talked about coming into a casino and sitting down and on a blackjack table, and this guy that just got off the boxcar with holes in his shoes and pants and teeth, and he's coming in and trying to explain to Buddy how to play blackjack, and Buddy's sitting there nodding, going, "Oh, really? So yeah, if you split your tens, you can do this." So at the end of the day, it dawned on him that he's taking advice on how to make money from a bum, and the guy clearly isn't able to care for himself, but yet he's telling him how to make money. The point that I'm making here is that I don't need to be the smartest guy in the world. I just need to be surrounded with the smartest people in the world. And I'm a firm believer that, if you surround yourself with quality people, it has a way of raising your game.
And there you have it, Future Shapers, a value bomb dropped by Gil Dickason today. If you have the best people around you, that is a way to raise your game. Excellent, excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Gil, you've been around the block for a little while. You've seen a lot of economic changes, a lot of changes in the auto industry, a lot of changes in the wholesale client industry. You've seen a lot, and you've had some success here. But I think you also have seen the fact that life occasionally throws us a few curveballs. Things don't always go the way we'd like them to. Can you share with us a short story about the worst experience you've ever had as the leader of H&A Transmissions?
Yeah. So my first suggestion to your listeners is to, having been a baseball player and also a pitcher, is to move up in the box and catch the ball before it breaks. So, don't let that curveball get you flat-footed and sitting back on your heels. And specifically is basically to try and create a situation where you're more proactive than reactive. And that's what happens to the guy that's sitting and gets caught and gets fooled by the curveball. Okay, so what I would suggest people do is to try to plan further ahead. I live my life by a standard that says I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than thoroughly disgusted. So I always tend to look at worst case scenarios and try and position myself to avoid those things. So, having said that, the worst situation I think we dealt with was once upon a time, we were supplying transmissions as a premier supplier to Honda Care, which is the extended warranty side of Honda. And through that process, they had some issues with their transmissions that were headed towards a class action lawsuit. And in that process, we started getting inundated with more orders than we could actually fill. And what I say by that is their side of the business grew so quickly that it became problematic to service our own in-house customers. So that created an environment where we had to make a choice to do one of two things: either supply Honda across the board, the Honda Care program, and alienate our own customer base that we acquired and put together and nurtured and built relationships with over 10, 12 years. And if we did that, then we have to suffer the likeliness that if at any point Honda Care pulled the plug on us, we'd have to turn around and go back to those people and say, hey, remember me? And of course they're going to say, oh yeah, I remember you. So ultimately, it was a tough choice. And what we did is we went to Honda Care and we suggested that they find another supplier. We walked away from a very lucrative program because I felt like the uncertainty was going to be that at some point it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when they would pull the plug and go in a different direction, whether they created their own in-house program or they looked to sort of cut back the cost by finding somebody that would do it cheaper. And that's one thing this company will never do, is sacrifice quality for quantity or for low prices.
Interesting story, Gil. What lessons did you learn from the manner in which you confronted this event that other people might like, which is huge growth real quick?
Yeah, I think, Greg, it's a matter of, doing the things that are right, being forthright, forthcoming, and very direct about it. And I think that was the smartest thing, I think we did as a company by going to them and saying, hey, look, this is a suggestion that we think, you'd be in your best interest and our best interest. And of course, looking back at it, it goes back to that adage about don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's in a sense of exactly what we would have been doing had we gone the other way. And I think it definitely proved to be the right thing to do.
From what I understand, Gil, that you had an intent and came from your personal character, I'm assuming, to create a win-win outcome. The next step would be beneficial both for the Honda Care program and also for H&A Transmission, while at the same time respecting your relationship with your clients. Is that a fair summary of the intent to create that win-win outcome? Yeah,
I think it definitely is, Greg. Again, I think history being the roadmap, so to speak. What transpired after that was they continued to use us as a backup supplier for several years. Until they decided to open up their own facility in Ohio, which of course that's exactly what would have happened, and I think it would have cost us a huge market share to have done it any other way. So we remained in good grace with them to this day. If they've got something that's not in their system that they need an emergency, they'll call us. But it's not the numbers that we were doing once upon a time. But we kept that door open. The bridge did not get burnt, is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm impressed. It seems to me that you looked forward and you saw a potential over-reliance, a risk to H&A by being over-reliant on the Honda Care program. You established that win-win relationship, which sort of cut back both your supply to them and ultimately the sales to that customer. And because you were concerned that they would change, their demand would change, and ultimately it turned out to be very prescient, because that's really what would have happened anyway. So, good job. How's your crystal ball doing these days?
Actually, I feel pretty blessed. Honestly, I think I've got a good head for this industry. I stay very well connected to it. So there's not much that really catches me by surprise. Does that mean that it can't happen? Absolutely not. I'm as fallible as anybody else. But I think, if you maintain a really good connection to whatever endeavor in industry, you just use a marriage, for example. If you stay connected in your marriage, you're less likely to have a lot of problems and less likely to come home one day and find your house empty and go, what happened? Right. And it's being engaged.
Engagement. I'd love to go into detail about that. Let's do that offline. Here we are on April 4th of 2018. We just finished the first quarter of 2018. When you look forward in your business through 2018, what is the most important goal that you have on your plate right now for this year?
God, that's really a good question, because I've actually got two or three. But I would say
let's hear them.
Well, I think the first goal would be the furthering of. We've been working on a CVT transmission platform that nobody in the industry really wants to do them because they're problematic. But we've got hard heads around here. We're very stubborn, and it's kind of like the old saying goes, nobody walks on water. Well, we're foolish enough to keep trying. So ultimately is to finalize that program. I think we're very, very close. We're having some parts that we're manufacturing ourselves to hopefully make it better and stronger and give it a better lifestyle.
For those non-car guys like me, CVT stands for, or is that a brand?
It's a constant variable transmission, so it doesn't shift. It's on a belt. It's belt-driven, belt pulley, and they're in a number of different vehicles. They're in Nissans and you name it, Toyotas, Hondas. There's many different cars that have them. We're only concerned with the Honda side of things, though.
Gil, you are innovating.
We try to be, yeah.
And that's excellent. So goal number one is to have that CVT program platform, I should say, in place and working with an innovation brought forward by H&A Transmissions. Goal number two.
Goal number two is actually broadening. We have a machine shop here that we've got some CNC machines and manufacturing some of our own components, and we're looking to add to it. We're looking to go in a couple different directions, and also hopefully we're going to try to launch a torque converter manufacturing suite here. Hopefully by the end of the year. We've got the base equipment to do it. That's another thing. As I look around, I see the really one thing that we don't do that keeps us self-reliant is torque converter remanufacturing. We buy our torque converters from a couple quality individuals here in the United States. One's up in Fresno, and the other one's back in Iowa, I believe it is. Long story short is, we're reliant on their quality. If anything slips on their end, we're the guy that's going to end up with a black eye, and I don't like being in that position. So we're going to start doing some of that ourselves.
So because of your quality requirements, you are becoming more vertical in your supply chain, essentially, in the manner in which you are part of that supply chain. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, it's fair.
Thank you. I'm treading on thin ice here.
No.
I don't want to strike out here. Excellent. Okay, so you have 3 goals you mentioned. It's very interesting. They all seem to be innovative in terms of not resting on your laurels. I would assume that in your success, you also face some challenges in addition to those goals. What are the biggest challenges that you're facing in H&A Transmission now?
Honestly, finding good people. We don't go out into the world and hire people from transmission shops who've already acquired bad habits and the like, think they know more than we do, because the reality is, and I don't want to sound cocky here, is when you do one thing consistently over and over and over and over again, you get pretty darn good at it. And I'm proud to say that I think the people that we have here that do the manufacturing side of putting these transmissions together, they're the best in the industry. We've taught them our way, and it's not my way; it's my cousin, our founder's way, and there's a recipe to be followed. And if you stick to the recipe, you're generally going to find yourself highly successful. And to that end, we're one of the very few companies that work at the scope of what we do, like we do, that does not dyno their transmissions, and there's a reason for that. A dyno we view as kind of along the lines of a trapeze. It's kind of like doing a high wire act and knowing you got a net underneath you. Well, it's all great during practice, and showtime comes, you got to kind of do without that net, and we do that on a daily basis. The reality is that we have a less than 4%, builder error fail rate, and given the numbers that we put out on an annual basis, that's pretty darn impressive. So the people is what's tough, is bringing people in that really want to work, want to learn. Anymore, I hate to tell you guys, and this isn't just me, but you can go to anybody around pretty much that's running a business, trying to find people that have the ethic, the drive, and the desire to move forward and reach that upper level to become successful. It's tough. People don't want to show up. They don't, they just don't have the same work ethic that, Lord knows, my father's generation, to me, had the best work ethic of anybody I've ever seen. And that's not to say that I don't work hard, because I'm a chip off the old block. But the bottom line being is, today's generation there's a huge drop off. I mean, it's a huge drop off. This self entitlement. That's, I think, the biggest obstacle is your, and it's also your biggest asset. Your biggest asset of any company that's going to be successful is going to be your employees, and you've got to invest in your employees.
There you have it, another value bomb dropped by Gil Dickason. He recognizes the quandary between finding the right people that sometimes let us down, and the fact that those people that we work with are in fact our best asset. There must be a middle road. There must be a middle way, and that's the challenge, to find that middle path. Bring the right people on, train them in the H&A way to be successful within this company, respecting and building them up as well. How can you overcome that concern? How can you find that middle way? What's your plan to overcome that challenge?
Slam my head on the concrete some more. I got nothing for you, Craig. I mean, honestly, it's like you asked the question, what's the biggest obstacle? I think right now that's it. We constantly have meetings at the senior management level, trying to figure out what it takes, because it's not always about money. Sometimes it's about engagement with your senior management group, being accessible, feeling like you're part of the family environment. And I hate to tell you, but the bigger you get, it's harder to maintain that intimacy, of that family feel. It's kind of like you look in the back seat of the family truckster and you see a kid back there and you go, God, which one is that? Is that Bobby? Is it Frank? No, that's Jimmy. Yeah, that's Jimmy. The bottom line being is it gets really, really difficult to maintain that continuity.
And that's the challenge that we have. Okay, we're going to change gears here, okay? Mm-hmm. We're going to go back in the Wayback Machine, all the way back to that time when you left the lithography industry, mm-hmm. and you came here. Tell us how you felt. What was holding you back, if anything, in your mind that allowed you to step away from the, say, relative comfort of a regular income and an industry that you knew to something that was different, without that assured income, become an entrepreneur? Tell us about that time.
Yeah, wow. It was pretty nerve-wracking. I left an industry where I was making six figures, but I'd been up and down the corporate ladder twice, and quite honestly, I was pretty disenchanted with it. Though I loved the trade, I just wasn't willing to go back in and work my fanny off again, only to be basically relegated to just being another number. And when economic times mandate, I still remember being asked by one of my bosses, back the first time I got laid off, if I would consider, because they loved me so much and they thought so highly of my abilities, if I would take a $6 an hour cut in pay, and I was making $12 at the time. If I would do that, they would be inclined to keep me around, because they really had a lot of respect for me. And I just looked at my boss. I said, after everything I've done, all the on-call hours and canceling vacations and that. The bottom line being is no, I'm not willing to do that. And so that's where, when I came to work with my cousin here, it was a huge cut in pay. I went from making six figures to, $400 a week. In fact, when I did it, I took a real leap of faith, and I told him, I still remember this day, my offer to him is that I will come to work for you for 2 months. I will work for you for free for 2 months. At the end of that 2 months, you assess whether or not you feel I'm worth something to you, if I have a value to you and what you're trying to accomplish. And if that answer to that question is yes, that you then pay me according to what that value is. I'm not expecting to make $100,000 a year coming into a new industry, because ultimately, like I said, I did not want to work in cars. The true story, Greg, is when I graduated from high school in 1973, they gave us a questionnaire. And on that questionnaire was many different questions about this and that. And one of the questions on there was, what is the one industry you absolutely will not find yourself working in? And I put automotive. So it's kind of I get a real kick out of that to this day, because we have our plans, God has his, and he usually wins that particular
And our greatest success is when we align our mission, our values, and our principles with God's clear vision for what He has for us. That's my opinion. I'm going to stand by it.
I completely agree with you because, again, like I said, I would never have dreamt that I'd find myself in this industry, let alone, president, CEO, without any, formal college education. It's been trial by fire, on the job training all the way through.
I would even add an excellent verse from Proverbs that's applicable to that transition. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. And in all these things, He will prosper you. Not quite right, but it's fairly close.
I think, there's a lot of merit to that. And again, it's, I really give thanks. I don't take credit. It's not been me. I think I've been blessed. I really do.
Okay, we're going back to that time. I would like to ask your why. Why did you take that leap of faith into an industry that you said you never want to be in? What is your why?
Well, I think, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin who said many, many, many years ago that, make a man uncomfortable enough in his discomfort and he will make change. Right. And so, ultimately working up that corporate ladder and working as hard as I did to get where I was, only to be laid off, not because I wasn't good at what I did, but because I was making too much money, it was really, really frustrating. And so I wanted to go to work where I could find a place that would offer security. And at that particular point in time, my relationship with my cousin Roland, it was as strong then as it is today. I felt like I really going to have to be a horse's butt to get fired or laid off by him. And working together with him shoulder to shoulder to build his dream, which this was his dream, wasn't mine, right? It was going to be the security that I wanted. And I just didn't want to feel like I was wasting my life, wasting my time, doing something for somebody else that didn't have value in me.
News alert to future shapers. Another value bomb dropped by Gil Dickason. Security comes from a relationship with others, in particular, family relationship, not necessarily money in the bank. It comes from a relationship. Outstanding sharing there. Okay, I understand that you, Gil, are in the wholesale business, but you still have clients. Tell me about it this time. Describe the profile of your ideal client.
Well, many of my clients we have confidentiality agreements with, so I can't really name them.
Profile.
But they're the larger, we're a good-sized company. They're huge by comparisons to us,
How many people work?
We have a total of about 86 or 7, I believe.
Okay.
So ultimately, the companies that we represent and we deal with, most of them well over 300, 400, 500, 600 people, some over 1,000 people. There's no there's no area within the automotive aftermarket that we're not involved in, whether it's being with the extended warranty companies, transmission mom and pop shops, mom and pop repair shops, all the way up dealerships throughout the United States. So we're in everything. We're in everything.
Since you have these relationships with these, let's call it larger manufacturing type companies that to be named at a later date, it's the relationship that is bound up in your quality standards, meaning your reputation, that is probably the currency, could be the currency of your success. Tell me about your efforts to maximize your reputation.
Well, I think, first and foremost, Greg, is I really firmly believe that we have the strongest warranty in the United States as far as, with what we do. I've always had a firm belief that you put your money where your mouth is, and so you need to make a statement. And the statement that we make consistently isn't just in the warranty, but also in the presentation of our transmission. When you look at it compared to everything that everybody else puts out there, you can always identify an H&A transmission just because of its cleanliness, the attention to detail, the whole aesthetic package. When people look at it, they think, my God, if they put that much effort into the outside, what's the inside? What have they done inside? So our warranty is probably the anchor to that, which is we have a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year unlimited mileage warranties, parts and labor. So that's to say that if your transmission takes a dump, regardless of how many miles you have on it, we're going to stand behind it. We're going to, and it's a nationwide warranty. So if you're on your way back to, say, you're going back to Chicago and you break down the Grand Canyon somewhere, we're going to have your car put into a shop. We're going to have a transmission taken out. We're going to put you in a rental car, send you on your way. So on trip in uninterrupted, you come back, you pick your car up, and we've taken care of that. And it depends upon the warranty option that you, the customer, decided to buy. And there's many different tiers that we offer. And that's another area that we've kind of been unique about, is we try and present ourselves and put ourselves in a position of offering the automotive shop owner a warranty option that suits his customer's driving needs. Not just, this is our warranty, take it or leave it. A lot of companies, they do is they go out and have a 1 year 12,000 mile warranty or 3 year 36,000 mile warranty. Again, ours are 1 year, 2 year, 3 year unlimited mileage warranty. Nobody steps forward and puts their mouth out there and put their money in it like we do. We back it up.
Outstanding. Stand by what you believe.
Absolutely.
And give your clients, in this case, are those transmission shops, give them the comfort and security that they are providing a value to their clients. They feel better about their transaction with their clients, and because of that, they are loyal to H&A Transmission. Reputation, quality, and really performance on a day-to-day. That sounds like a pretty important key.
Yeah, I think ultimately one of the cornerstones to our company and our mantra, if you will, is to be a company that doesn't just do good work, but to be known as a company that does good works, which is to treat people right, treat people fairly, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Excellent. Sounds like the golden rule to me.
It definitely is.
Now, aside from the golden rule, what is the best advice from a business perspective that you've ever received, Gil? Listening and curious minds, they want to know.
Honestly, the best advice that I've ever been given in business, I've ignored.
Do tell.
To get out of California, to move your business out of California. California is not a business-friendly environment. And
No,
you open this can of worms, not me, bud.
Let's go fishing.
So ultimately,
get those worms out.
California is just its leadership in Sacramento just doesn't get what it takes to be in manufacturing and maintain profitability. The excessive taxation, the excessive cost of workman's comp and medical insurance and everything else that keeps being thrown at you. Look, when it comes to running a business, it's pretty easy. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a matter of, profitability. And if you can maintain profitability, roll your profits back into the company in the form of taking care of your personnel, and be able to show a profit at the end of the day on the bottom line without trying to be, greedy and pig rich yourself as owners, it's really pretty easy to do. But once you start getting excessive taxation and stuff of this nature, and then the red tape and all the other garbage that comes down in the way of their rules and regulations, it becomes more and more difficult to do. So you only have 2 or 3 basic means to be able to combat that. A is raise your prices. We as a company are in an environment that does not allow for raising prices constantly, because you lose market share when you do that. The bigger companies that we sell to aren't able to pass on a profitability to their customers if we continue to raise our prices. So we're kind of stagnated there. The other end is diversification, which we've done. We try and diversify our company and take it in other directions, as we've done with the parts industry, and a lot of what we've done there, we've created a whole nother market, if you will, by doing that. But that has its limitations. And the other side of that is to become more efficient in terms of streamlining jobs. If you go automated, if I go automated, I start cutting people's jobs out. I didn't start this business or get involved in this business to eliminate people's jobs. it's one of the things I enjoy doing is helping people provide a means for their lives, right?
Excellent, Gil. May I add one other principle that I think you might have left off that short list? It is innovation. You can innovate your way through the issues that you have. In addition to taking care of your employees, maintaining your profitability, and make the business as easy and simple as possible. Not overly complex innovation, which I see you doing here. Thumbs up.
Well, actually, I didn't leave it off because the innovation falls under the line of automation. A lot of it is you become innovative in your approach to how you process, the cost of your goods. Yes. And you start getting creative in your abilities to do so.
Excellent. So it's a perfect segue into our national view. We in the Future Shapers Nation believe that our excellent country, United States of America, is at a tipping point. Well, some people say it's always been a tipping point. We think now it's more precarious than ever. And we as citizens have an obligation to help shape our nation's future in a positive direction. Tell me, Gil, what is America to you?
America to me is opportunity. It's freedom. It's opportunity. And it's yours to be taken. It's yours to be done with as you would see yourself to do. When I was in high school, I remember I took a business course, and there was a teacher I had by the name of Keith Cross. Keith Cross, on the first day of our classroom, handed everybody in their business card, and that business card read, "That which we vividly imagine, ardently desire, enthusiastically believe in, will inevitably come to pass." So what he was telling us is that if you can dream it, if you can think it, and you can keep your focus on it, put your shoulder to the wheel and push, you're going to make it happen. So it all has to do with we having our keys to our success and not giving up, not throwing our hands up and becoming victims to just cave in to the pressures that you deal with in daily life. It gets back into my mindset, having been an athlete. I realize every time I get in that box, I'm not going to hit the ball over the fence. Every time I take that mound, I'm not going to walk away with a victory. The reality is you just don't give up. You stay going.
And if you can bat .350 over your lifetime, you're doing pretty well.
Exactly. Yeah. So America is opportunity, and it's going to be what you make it.
Excellent. So, Gil, thank you so much for sharing with the Future Shapers audience today. Please tell the listeners who have an interest how they could contact you. Or H&A Transmissions.
Well, you can look us up on the internet. We're always out there on the internet, and we do get some calls there. But we're a wholesale only company. We don't deal with the public, but we can. If you have questions on how you can receive one of our transmissions, you can always call in and ask for a referral to a company that we partner with. We are always hiring. If you're seeking an employment opportunity, we welcome you to come in and fill out an application. But as far as the retail side of things, we don't deal with the retail end of things. It's part of our foundation as a company. We're a wholesale only.
So, Future Shapers, you can learn about H&A Transmissions at www.hna, Harry Nancy Alpha, trans, trans.com. Thank you for sharing with the Future Shapers audience today, Gil. And to all of those listeners, get ready for our next podcast that's coming right down the road. Thank you again, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining this episode of Shaping the Future podcast. We leave you, Future Shapers, with this challenge. Act boldly today to shape your future, because if you don't, it will absolutely be shaped for you.